Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're just going to talk about my June books that I read. I totally skipped April and May. I had zero time to film, so I also barely read. I do have books that I did read, but it's okay. I'm not going to go back to them. We'll talk about them probably later. I'm sure I'll mention them in later videos. But my son is currently napping, so hopefully he stays asleep. Let's just get into this video. I read 7 books in June, which was the most I've read in a month this year, so I'm very happy about that. I don't know how I actually was able to read so much, but I somehow figured out how to read again, and I got some books done. So the first book that I read was Moon Rising by Tua T. Sutherland, and this is the 6th graphic novel in his series. He has them chapter books, but has been turning them into graphic novels, and so this is the 6th one, and the first 5 are like its own little series, and this is like the next step after like the end of that series. So it's like after the prophecy and the war and dragons and everything, this is like the next step. This is a really great kids book. Like if they're between the ages of like 8 and like 13, this is a solid book for these kids. My niece loves them. My nephews are starting to get into them. I love them. My sister's reading the chapter books. They're just really fun, and if you like dragons, like it's a great world building type of graphic novel. Highly recommend them. Okay, the ponytail was giving me a headache, so the hair is down. So the second book, this one I'd been listening to for a long time, so it was an audiobook. I listened to it on Scribd, and I really loved. I've listened to the first one too. I really love listening to these a little more than I enjoy reading them, and that is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The one that I listened to this month was The Two Towers, and I listened to the ones narrated by Andy Serkis because I just felt like if it wasn't, usually the ones that I've tried to listen to in the past were like an older gentleman with like a really low gruff voice, but I couldn't ever really get into them, and I felt like Andy Serkis would do such a good job, and like he's the one that voiced Gollum anyway, and so he does a fantastic job. I've listened to the first one, this one, the second one I listened to, and he just like the narration is so great. It's definitely like if you've seen the movies, these are definitely ones you should listen to because like his impression of Samwise is like spot on. Like it almost sounds like just like Sean Astin. His Frodo is great. Obviously his Gollum is fantastic because he does the voice. He's just really great at making the voices different and like distinguished, and it's really easy to pick them out. And like listening to that with all like the singing and all the narration, like I just love Andy Serkis's voice, and he does a fantastic job. So I highly recommend, if you can't get into the writing style of Tolkien like I can't, I highly recommend listening to the audiobooks narrated by Andy Serkis because he does fantastic. They're also like 25 hours long, which is a very long audiobook. So it took me a while to get through them. It takes me like a month to get through it. But I did it, and it was so good. So after that, the next book that I took 800 years to read was A Torch Against the Night, which I was doing as a buddy read with Aramis over at Moose Talks Books. This one took us a long time. Life got really busy, and these are kind of hefty books, but they're really fast reads, thankfully. Anyway, this is the second book in the Ember and the Ashes series by Saba Tahir, and this was definitely the second book in a series. Like you could just tell, like, and not even like necessary world building was happening. There was a little bit of world building, but it was just kind of like that awkward transitional phase where like everything was crazy in the first book and happened and action packed and went pretty quickly, and then it slows down to kind of build up like character development and set up the pacing for the next 2 books because this is a 4-book series. But it was still good. I love doing these as a buddy read. The ending of this book was really good, and it makes me really excited to read the next book, so we'll be picking that up hopefully soonish. Maybe once the summer slows down, Aramis and I will pick it back up, but I feel like we're both like just crazy busy. But we're gonna pick it up and we're gonna read through the rest of them together. I've been doing reading vlogs on these, so if you want more information on this one, if you've already read it and want my thoughts, go check out the reading vlog. The premise of this book, there's this empire that rules all over, and years ago there was a rebellion and they kind of squashed that. The empire squashed it, and so it goes like the empire and like the marshals, because there's this ginormous military within the empire. And in the first book, it pretty much takes place at the like military school. So within this world, at the school, we have Elias, who is training to become a mask, which is like this killing machine, basically. They're very, very good. They're almost like assassins. He wants out. He doesn't want to do this. So he's thinking of escaping, and something changes his mind and he stays in the school. On the other side of this, there are what's called the scholars. They are like, I don't even know what to compare them to. They're just like the people who rebelled. So they're just like normal people. They're typically like illiterate, and just like lesser. Anyway, our main character, her name is Laia. She is a scholar, and at the beginning of the book, her like grandparents are killed and like from a mask, and then her brother's taken. So she runs, and then she wants to find the rebellion to like get her brother back out of this prison. And so they make her go as a spy to the school. So she is working as a slave in the school to try to get some information to not sell, but like give to the rebellion so that they have like an incentive to get her brother out. So we got Laia and Elias. They somehow come into contact at the school, and it kind of just goes from there. So this was the second book in that series. Really good. After that, I read White Stag, courtesy of a recommendation from a coworker. So apparently there's a couple more books to this. Like, I think it could be a series, but I'm gonna read it as a standalone. It was great as a standalone, perfectly fine. So this book it's really interesting. Our main character's name is Yannicka, and she is what's considered a thrall, which is basically just a slave. And our main like creature people are goblins, which is really weird. I take that back. There's one book that I've read that has had goblins in it, but not in the same sense. So these goblins kind of remind me of the Fae or elves, kind of. They've got this like ethereal beauty, which is like kind of a mask, because their inner self, their true self, is like this ugly, hideous monster type thing. And if you've played the Hogwarts Legacy game at all, what I envision when that true monster comes out is the goblins from that game. So like when they're going crazy X-Men games, they're like blah, and then their face gets all like huge and monstrous. That's what I envision. So anyway, she's been a thrall for one goblin named Soren for 100 years, which is crazy because she's still like 27, which is interesting. She resides in what's called the permafrost, which is like their goblin land. It like separates the magic from like the human lands. And so he has always treated her not like a thrall and just kind of as a companion. So anyway, the Goblin King, who's the Earl King, he dies. So this is like a cycle, it just happens. The Earl King dies, they go on this hunt where they have to find the White Stag. Whoever finds the White Stag and kills it, becomes the next Earl King. So it's just a cycle that happens every so often in their like goblin world. Soren brings Yannicka on the hunt, and is trying to get her to kind of change into a goblin, because when you've been there for so long and kind of suck in this power from everything, you're able to either change or basically die. So he's trying to get her to change into a goblin. She's scared that if she does that, then she's gonna lose all her like humanity. So it's a pretty interesting book. It was not like my favorite, but also I've read worse books. But I did like the ending. It was kind of an interesting like circle of life situation. This next book that I read is by far the best book of 2022 and 2023, and it just came out last May, and you probably all know what it is. It is Fourth Wing. I love this book so much. I love it, I love it, I love it. So here we have another military school, university type situation. They're all 20 years old and older. This military school has different sections, different quadrants. There's the writer's quadrant, the scribe quadrant, and the infantry quadrant. I don't think there's any other ones. So our main character, her name is Violet. She has trained her entire life to be in the scribe quadrant, because that's like what her father did and just like what she was trained to do. Her mother, brother, and sister were all in the writer's quadrant and are like the warrior, tough people. Our main character is not built that way. She is very fragile, is the term used a lot. She has a chronic illness. Okay, Bobaby woke up. She has a chronic illness, which is called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is basically where like your bones are really fragile, so they can break easily. Your skin is kind of translucent, and your like muscle tissues are very like sensitive, so you bruise easily. And so obviously being in the writer's quadrant is not the best place for her, because it's basically a death sentence. Once you're in the writer's quadrant, you have to start training for like combat, kind of be agile, take classes, because eventually you're going to, hopefully, if you don't die, bond with a dragon at threshing. And that dragon, if they choose you, will bond with you, and then it will like channel a power through you. So you have this unique power. This is enemies to lovers. There's magic, there's dragons. I have a whole review on it. I have a whole reading vlog on it. Go check those out if you're interested in more of that. I cannot wait for the second book. So this is the first of what I think is going to be 5 different books, and the second book comes out in November. So I've already pre-ordered it. I cannot freaking wait. This was a book I could not put down, and I haven't read a book like that probably since I read Akatar 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. I just have 2 more books to talk about, so we'll do this quickly. The next book that I read was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I was really pleasantly surprised by this book. So I had put this on hold at the library, and it finally came in, so I had to read it quickly, and I need to take it back because there's people waiting. This was just a really cute, cozy read. I could definitely see myself rereading this fall. So basically, hi. Our main character, her name is Vivian. She is an orc, and she basically was a bounty hunter. She decided she is tired of the bloodshed, tired of bounty hunting, and just wants to live a simple, easy life. And so she decides to open a coffee shop. She does that, and then she, like, it's just really cute. Like, it's just, I don't know, this whole premise was so cute. Like, it starts off like she finds someone who will help her rebuild. Like, she found a building, and then she went and found like a contractor who would help her build stuff and like fix up the interior of her building. And then she found someone to work for her. So she has a barista basically, and someone to like help her make drinks and serve and everything. And then she finds someone to bake goods for them and someone to like perform. And then like she expands the menu. It's just really, it's high fantasy, low stakes, really cute. And it just like gave me all the warm, fuzzy feeling vibes. And like, it's funny because like they talk about like espresso machines, but like in a fantasy setting. I don't know, it's just really fun. And like the coffee drinks, like you're always like, ooh, what are you gonna make next? Like, just like little by little, she adds more people into her life and adds like expands the menu until it becomes like this great cozy place to hang out. And I just really liked it. There is obviously something that does happen. One of her old like team members is after something that she has and is gonna do pretty much anything to get it. So something does happen, but it ends with a really sweet ending. There's like slight romance in this, but like nothing heavy at all, and not even steamy. Oh, big guy. The last book that I read was a manga, and that was the second volume of The Love Calm by Aya Nakahara, I think. This is volume 2. Love Calm stands for Lovely Complex. I read the first one almost 2 years ago, and I realized our library had it, so I checked it out and was like, I should pick this back up again because Nate's been reading Attack on Titan and it's been making me want to read manga. This is about these two kids. I can't even remember their names. Ateno and Kazumi, I think. They go to school together. Otani is the boy and he's really short, and then Kazumi is the female and she's like extremely tall, so they both get made fun of for like opposite reasons. He's too short, she's too tall, they're both freaks, whatever. So in the first book they make a bet like who can find a boyfriend or girlfriend the fastest. So they're like on the hunt for a boyfriend and girlfriend, but like in this one they are like, oh, maybe I have feelings for you, maybe you have feelings for me, I don't know, I'm confused about my feelings. And then each of them have someone from their past kind of come back into their lives, and then there's like, I don't know, it's just cute and simple and mindless. So anyway, those were the books I read in June. I had a great reading month. I'm really looking forward to July. I hope it is just as good. I'm finally starting to figure out a system of reading and parenting and working and just kind of finding myself again, which is super nice. Seb is finally getting just a teensy bit more independent, which gives me just time to not have to hold him constantly, and then I can like read while he plays or whatever, or he naps. And so yeah, anyway, that was really great. I'm really happy. I'm like 2 books behind, 4. I'm 2 books behind my like yearly goal of 50 books, and so it's July 1st tomorrow. Hopefully I can kind of catch up. I think if I read a couple manga, I can get there really easily. But I'm really trying my hardest, and it's really good. Let me know what you guys read this month. What was your favorite book of the month? And yeah, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!